to go ahead and call this meeting to order. This is an informational evening meeting tonight only. It's like a council workshop for us. It's not an official meeting. We appreciate everybody coming this evening. Chief Felton is going to have a presentation about FOC cameras, and then we'll open the floor for questions. We would like everybody coming up to ask questions. Please state your name, and we would like you to ask two questions at a time, so we can get through everybody here. If they want to get up and ask, we want to give everybody an opportunity to get up and ask questions. And if we get through everybody, then you can get back up and ask some more questions. So at this time, I would have introduce our Chief of Police, Colter Felton, and he'll do his presentation. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I have one statement right before we start here?
No. You can make a statement after the Chief's done.
That's changing the pace all the way around.
It's not. Good, Colter.
All right, yeah, okay. So if everybody doesn't know, I'm Colter Felton, Chief of Police here in Glen Rock. Show you a presentation here. I think it's probably better if I sit for you guys over there. Everybody see it, okay. I'll just sit down here that way, I'm not going away. We'll walk through this. And if you have any questions, if you can, obviously it's going to be quicker for me to get through this if we don't stop on every slide and give everybody the opportunity to ask questions that you have. So, with that, we'll begin. All right. So, is this technology new? No. This technology was actually first introduced in the 1970s. The technology started to be deployed in law enforcement in America in the late 1990s, early 2000s. So what is an LPR? The license plate reader is a fixed camera system designed to photograph vehicles traveling on public roadways. It can capture images, primarily in the rear of the vehicle, a time and date, as well as the location of the camera. The important distinction here is the system is designed to identify vehicles and not people. The LPR system does not use facial recognition and does not collect biometric information or driver identity information. What happens to the photo that we take? So the photo is taken by the LPR camera. It's then uploaded into a software which can recognize the license plate numbers in the photo. Those numbers are then run against a list of plates which are entered as stolen or somehow tied to a criminal investigation. An LPR hit is an investigative lead, not proof of guilt. Officers are required to independently verify the information before taking enforcement action. The software can also filter the images by vehicle make, such as those listed there, body style, color, and additional characteristics such as whether a vehicle has a bumper sticker, rear window sticker, toolbox, top rack, or a back rack. These are common descriptors which are given during an investigation as people rarely remember or see a license plate. These filters allow for fewer results during a search by only including those vehicles that match the entered information in the results. These photos are deleted after 30 days from that cloud storage. Just kind of a little visual of what happens there. The camera takes a photo of the passing car. It is uploaded into the storage. The photo is assessed by the storage, as discussed in the last slide. Then an officer completes a search. That photo is then pulled down to be used in that investigation. Things license plate readers do not do. The system does not identify a person's face. It does not determine who is driving the vehicle. It does not record conversations or enter a vehicle. It does not track a person's movements inside buildings or record traffic violations. It does not issue any sort of citation or charge. The camera photographs vehicles visible from public locations. So where are these cameras and why? So we have 4 LPR cameras on the edges of Glen Rock and 1 in Rolling Hills. The cameras are placed along the 4 main entrances based on these providing the most opportunity to capture photos of vehicles. These are also locations chosen to reveal nothing more than is necessary. Some of the court cases associated with these, where courts have ruled that the block cameras are constitutional. I'll just get the keynotes here, guys, the actual court names. United States versus Knotts in 1983 was in regard to people's expectation of privacy regarding a license plate. United States versus Martin in 2024, the court upheld the use of flock information in the circumstances presented and concluded that the defendant did not have a reasonable expectation of privacy in the vehicle information obtained through the system. Smith versus City of Norfolk, flock usage with limited retention periods does not track the whole of a person's movements, nor does it provide an intimate window into where citizens drive, park, visit, linger, sleep, or patronize. Similar decisions have been made in other court cases. Robinson versus the Commonwealth in the Virginia Court of Appeals. In 2026, the Virginia Court of Appeals likewise held that the use of the flock system in the circumstances before it did not constitute an unconstitutional search. Lastly, United States versus Porter, 2026, the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit affirmed the district court's rulings. It held that the use of the LPR system to identify Porter's vehicle did not violate the Fourth Amendment because there was no reasonable expectation of privacy in movement on public roads or in license plate information, and the LPR data was not as comprehensive as cell site location. So some of the benefits to the community with these cameras, they allow for faster investigation time. Instead of manually reviewing hours of video, investigators can search vehicle information with a defined time and location. These license plate readers also allow for the recovery of stolen property. Alerts can help officers locate stolen vehicles more quickly. They allow for finding missing people. Vehicle information can provide an important investigative lead when a missing or endangered person is believed to be traveling by vehicle. These cameras can prevent and solve crime. Knowing that vehicles associated with criminal activity may be identified can provide an additional deterrent. More efficient use of personnel. Automated technology can help investigators narrow a search and spend more time conducting traditional investigative work. So these are a few of the incidents, cases where in my time here, these flock cameras could have helped us solve these cases a lot sooner. I don't know if you want to go through these, but May 2020.
A few of those, please, sir.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Could you speak on a few of those? The print's pretty small.
Yeah, absolutely. I apologize for that, guys. In May of 2020, a juvenile female was picked up in the middle of the night in a blue car with out-of-state plates and taken out of state. That young girl was recovered over a year later, 3 states away, living with a sex offender. July 2012, a man broke into an elderly woman's home and raped her at gunpoint. A van believed to be related was seen leaving the area. That van had been borrowed by the suspect on the night of the incident occurred. July 2016, a man's home was burglarized while he was in the hospital. A neighbor reported seeing a strange vehicle parked outside previously, but only recalled the color and body style. During the arrest of those individuals, the vehicle in the suspect's driveway matched that description which had been given.
So out of all those I see blown up in a stolen vehicle, are all these from blown up that you guys captured that you guys did by flock?
No.
Is that what you're
these
saying?
These are previous cases that occurred prior to the system being in place that the flock system itself could have actually helped us solve sooner.
Because I only see one in Glen.
Every one of those is in good.
Okay, which year's 2012? All the way back to 8 years before flock cameras?
Yep.
10 years.
I've been here since
2022.
2010, and so these are some from the time that I've been
And
here.
you've had these up since 2022, correct?
2024.
Oh.
Yeah. So again, what I'm saying is these are cases that took place prior to the cameras being there, that these cameras could have actually helped us solve sooner.
Thank you.
March 2023, a suspicious vehicle was reported parked for 5 days on private property without explanation. The vehicle was listed as stolen by another agency. June 2014, a man traveling across state lines and stealing cars passed through Glen Rock in a stolen vehicle and stole another vehicle. These are some of the recent cases that we've had in the last couple of months where the system was actually used to help us in identifying the individuals involved. On the left here, a male individual entered a local gas station and engaged in an altercation with the clerk. The male left the station prior to officers' arrival. However, the vehicle he was driving was caught on surveillance video. Using descriptors, a photo of the vehicle was located in the LPR system, and using the plate number as well as follow-up investigation, the driver was identified and charged. The male was not a Glen Rock resident and likely would not have returned to the area or been identified without these cameras. Over here on the right, a local resident reported an unknown female walking around their property and peering into the windows of their home. They stated she had caught this on their home surveillance system. A still shot of the unknown female was posted to Facebook asking for help identifying the woman. The resident said the responses were not helpful and included accusations that the woman had been doing this for a while, and another stated she was likely in, that says anger, but it means it's supposed to be danger, and having a mental episode. The resident showed the video, and using descriptors of the vehicle the woman pulled up in, we were able to find the car and plate number. The woman was then contacted and explained that she was in town looking at real estate listings for a possible move. So what about safeguards? Responsible use does matter. As with any tool, we dictate acceptable use via policy as well as regular audits. Users are required to possess proper credentialing. The image is deleted after 30 days unless used as evidence in a case. When performing searches, an offense type, case number, and reason for the search is required. We offer a transparency portal where our policy is displayed as well as an audit log available for the last 30 days. As new updates or options become available, they are reviewed and, if beneficial, used. So this is a look inside of the system, actually. These are some of the things that we have for options as far as selecting and unselecting things. For those of you who can't see, we do have the audit assistance enabled. As far as being able to receive requests from federal agencies for sharing, that is disabled. So when we go into the system, this is what you actually see when you're about to perform a search. You can, well, you can't all see, but there are little red hyphens here in the required fields. Those fields are offense type, case number, and reason. When you're going to perform a search, what you would do is obviously complete those three fields. Then down below, if you have a license plate, you could enter it there. If you know the state, you could enter it there. Or you come down here and you enter the things that you do have, like body, make, color, those sorts of things. You can then select the time frame and you hit search. This is what you would get from that search, assuming you were searching a black SUV. Responsible deployment. 5 principles. Number 1, legality. We operate within federal and state constitutional requirements. 2, purpose limitation. The use of the system is for legitimate purposes, public safety and investigative purposes only. Number 3, accountability. Audit searches and investigate misuse. Number 4, data minimization. We only keep information as long as reasonably necessary and legally permitted. Number 5, transparency. Give the community clear information about how the technology is deployed and governed.
On 3 there, who audits the searches and the investigative misuse?
I do.
And on number 4, how long do you consider reasonably necessary?
As far as retention goes?
Yeah, that seems kind of vague.
So 30 days is what they're retained for.
Okay.
So why doesn't it
What
say
does
30 days?
So, guys, if you let me complete that, it actually does say 30 days earlier in the system. It also says that on our transparency portal as well as other things. That is included in the software, and the software is what actually automatically deletes that from the cloud. Our transparency portal, punch that link real quick. It's going to come up and not get pulled in.
You've probably opened the file outside of the presentation.
Yeah, it
You
did.
see it, you should be able to see it.
Yeah. There we go. All right, so this is our transparency portal. This is located on the town's webpage under the police department for anybody who wants to go to it at any time.
How long has this been in place?
So they actually just came out with Transparency Portal, I believe in July,
Oh,
to my knowledge. So we've been working on getting it up and running since July. So some of the things on here, it does include some of the news articles and such locally regarding the LPR systems, things that they have helped in solving. Obviously, these update as they become available. Here you can see the data usage summary. Data retention is 30 days. Total number of cameras, 5. The unique vehicles detected is meaning vehicles that have never passed the cameras in that prior 30 days. So the number of searches that were completed in the last 30 days was 6. Hot list alerted on, national and statewide hot list sources. It's just showing you the sources. There wasn't actually any hot list hits, which is what it shows over here.
Does it look for all offense types or just a few?
Offense types when you search or just right now?
Because it says top offense.
So these are the ones that were searched. It's just showing you the 3 that were searched.
If somebody's a registered sex offender someplace and they end up here even though they're not supposed to be,
So that is actually an option. We did use that at one point. We've since deactivated it because in the beginning, a number of these things, the software, right? Since 2024, they've both added and changed a number of things. In the beginning, it was kind of an all or nothing thing, and then since then, they've allowed for that other page, which is options you can turn on and off.
and would that include if there was an amber alert?
Yep, that would include that. Yep, if one of those vehicles had passed our stuff, that would actually change. Yep.
One quick question on this. With the list of searches, if you scroll up back to where there were 6 searches or whatnot. Now, I understand that you guys might have to do some investigation and not potentially show this information until an investigation has been active. So what triggers that number to go up?
6.
Yeah.
Anytime it's searched, that number goes up.
In
So
the last 30 days. Like,
Yep, in the last 30 days, yeah. And it automatically does that in the system, so it's not like I'm going in and uploading, tomorrow for the last 30 days. It actually automatically will change to include, what's today? 25th, so we'll go back to the 25th of July. So tomorrow it's going to bump from July 26th to the 26th of August.
what's this test mean?
What does test mean?
Yeah, when you do a search and you put test.
So
in the field.
I would actually rather just get through this, if that's all right, and then I'll answer those questions once the questions are.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
All right, so down here, go down a little further, it talks about some of the policy and trust things. What's detected, license plates, vehicles. Just goes over some information, you guys. And honestly, I'm not going to waste too much time going through all of this with you because this is completely available to everybody to review when you get home if you're interested. Down here on the bottom, you can actually download the last 30 days worth of searches. Again, that's completely available to
what
you
does that
to do.
mean? Just tell me what that means.
What?
So you download the last 30 days of searches. So if I went home and downloaded that, it would show the 6 searches that were made.
Yep.
And it would show what you were looking for, what case number was, would it show the picture of the vehicle?
So it does withhold some information because, as was brought up by the gentleman over here, some of the cases are obviously current in the last 30 days. So case numbers aren't going to be in there, license plate numbers aren't going to be in there, but it would show you the search parameters, if you will.
Why it was undertaken.
Yeah.
But how does that lead to?
Would you guys let him finish the presentation, then you can get up and come to the podium and ask questions?
So also included here, guys, some myths versus facts, just some information for you. Down at the bottom, our policy is actually attached, as well as some additional information on another. So, with that said, we can move on to questions.
If you have questions for Chief Felton, please come to the podium and state your name and ask the questions.
Hi, my name is Mark Munsell. I got involved with this, talking to the mayor in the town park. I guess I'm not playing Jeopardy right and stating a question, am I? But the reason I got involved with this was the mayor lied to me about these flock cameras,
How did I lie to you about the flock camera?
that you didn't know anything about it, that the chief did it by himself and solely by
I
himself.
told you they were brought in and put in during
Sir.
a budget session,
Stop.
and I knew where they were at. So go ahead and make your false statement.
And you all lied at the last
Yeah,
council
no, we didn't,
meeting
so
about
go
the same
ahead.
thing, that you didn't know about until he,
That's-
you had to
that was
know about
not-
them
That
to
was
do
not
the
our
budget.
conversation.
But then again, brought to my attention here, as we came into here, the July 27th meeting, you were on mic for giggling about that these things have been here for 4 years already, and we're just now figuring it out. And you ran it through the budget like a snake, so nobody knew about it. You're on mic for that, sir.
Everything we do is
You're on mic.
is open.
You are
for public
on mic
search,
and
and
not
when we do
saying
our
that.
budgets.
Thank you.
Just so you know, our flock system cameras have been in for 4 years.
And
I was wrong about that.
Just so you know.
Approved it in a budget.
I know you do. I just don't know.
Let's be respectful and letting us speak.
No, I know we had 4 years ago. I think
Yeah, please sit down and let him finish.
No, we'll get to everybody, let them do their questions, but you've lied to us on this the whole time here.
No, we haven't, so go ahead.
In this, you said we had them 4 years ago.
Well, I was mistaken. You never made a mistake in your
You
life?
snaked it through the...
No, we didn't snake it anywhere.
It's your voice, Mr. Mayor. It's your comments, not mine.
I've got about 2 minutes of context with my question, so if you bear with me, please let me know if I'm talking your ears off. A couple of years ago, I spoke of my concerns with the flock cameras in Rolling Hills. Since then, I've discussed the issue with many people. In these conversations, I've said the same thing again and again. These are good people with an evil tool in their hands.
Pardon me, sir. Would you please give us your name?
I'd be happy to. I reside in Rolling Hills. My name is Alex Smith.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I was just telling you you're good people. As best I understand, our police see the lost child quickly found, the tragedy averted. They see a safer and happier community. But in these conversations, time and again, I hear people expressing anger and frustration. I hear people concerned that our community is being subjected to un-American, warrantless surveillance. I hear concerns that evidence gathered without a warrant gets thrown out, and that genuine dangers to our community would persist. I hear fears of the potential loss of funds from our community from lawsuits. I hear people talking about freedom of information requests for data related to the day-to-day activities of our representatives for publication. I hear fear of abuse of these systems, concern that someone who should not have access could get into these systems, could see you leave your house and rob you. And I also hear people say, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. What's wrong with this? To that, I say you need to spend some time and talk with some defense lawyers. As I understand it, there are people in this country that are serving 8 years in prison for moving lobsters from one place to another. They use plastic bags instead of cardboard. There are quotes out there that some attorneys suspect that every average American is committing about 3 felonies a day. They don't even know. We have that many laws. We have treaties where we honor the laws of other countries even. Like no person could know everything that they're doing and what might be considered wrong under the eyes of the law. This technology and this legal landscape threatens everyone because everyone is technically guilty of something. And I'm not talking about immorality or anything here. So, again, you're good people. You have an evil tool in your toolbox. I would really appreciate it if you would consider putting on the agenda for next meeting to terminate this contract, ban flock drones, and take down the cameras. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hello, Council and Chief Elton. Thank you, everyone who made this meeting possible, and I would like to speak along the lines as our last speaker, just about the...
Tell us your name.
Oh, my name is Tim Kane.
Thank you.
And I reside in Rolling Hills, out in the backside at Rolling Hills. And like our last speaker, I'd like to just speak about the national conversation that's going on about these cameras and the use of these types of systems, not just flock, but there are multiple types of these systems. And so there's a national debate going on right now, not just in Glen Rock, but the whole country, and has been downplayed by some as just license plate readers. But that's only a small part of this conversation. The real heart of this conversation and debate is about the individual and his right or her right to be responsible for their own safety and make their own decisions about how to be safe and secure in their daily lives. And right now, this is under attack by people who have good intentions, but they are good intentions by force. Also, not to be under surveillance everywhere they go so that they feel a sense of freedom and a sense of space that we all crave. The real debate is whether or not government will allow the individual to make these choices, or will it be decided for them by those who know better and have only the best intentions. The very design and purpose of our national constitution and the constitutions of all 50 states is to recognize the individual and to protect and defend and promote the rights of the individual, specifically protect from government and 100% from the majority rule. The way that the rights of the individual are protected is by confirming that individual rights come from God and are not privileges that are granted by government that the people have created. A well-meaning government, even supported by the majority, whatever the public at large, cannot infringe upon the rights of the individuals. All of our constitutions state this and demand that our public officials abide by this. The individual is guided and held to account by a moral code of conduct in society, and society is given the job of considering and bringing to bear punishment and accountability for breaking the moral code, handed down from Almighty God and given to Moses. We all know that security cameras are everywhere, and nearly everywhere, and everyone says, so why is this different? What's the big deal? Well, for most people of the liberty mindset, 99% of all these other cameras are either belong to private individuals or private companies. It's different when any part of the government decides to make your day-to-day comings and goings a part of a surveillance program. That is nothing more than a crime looking for a person or a suspicious overseer waiting to make an accusation. At least this is the perception and the question is going around the country. All available information currently shows that this is the case. And across the country, it has been shown that any amount of good that has come from these types of systems, surveillance, that they're overshadowed by corruption and misuse of these systems. Sometimes these misuses are still also well-meaning, but they're misuses, and they certain times people go outside of the parameters which they have been told the community that they're not going to. And to be clear, I am not in any way suggesting that any member of our town government or our law enforcement here is planning to misuse this program, but evidence shows that the potential for harm across the country is shown that the potential for harm outweighs the potential for good. There's been studies shown that in large metropolitan areas where these cameras have been in use for 10 years plus, that the actual the lowering of crime rates in those areas and the actual meaningful arrests have not increased even a single %. But yet the costs of these things are enormous to the people, and that's another thing the government is supposed to protect, is to look at what they're spending the money that belongs to the people on. And so I'm asking on behalf of myself and other members of the community to remove and ban forever these types of destroyers of freedom and liberty, and uphold and defend the rights of the individuals as requested and required by our national and state constitutions, which are the highest laws of the land. And they are also the first grant of power entrusted to all of you who have chosen to serve the people, that you must abide by these constitutions, which are the highest law of the land. And they say, as our founders have, that these things should not be. I'm going to quote really quick Daniel Webster, one of our founders. "It's hardly too strong to say that the Constitution was made to guard the people against the dangers of good intentions. There are men in all ages who mean to govern well, but they mean to govern. They promise to be good masters, but they mean to be masters. And Thomas Jefferson remarked, "In questions of power, then, let no more be heard of confidence in man, but bind him down from mischief," which is what has been happening across the country by the change of the constitutions. It is your duty, it is all of our duty to follow the constitutions and to make it our primary law. I thank you for your time, and thank everyone for coming tonight.
Please give the people a chance to come up and ask their questions before you get up and make
Sorry, I don't have a
long of
whole
a statement,
speech. I just
please.
have a couple questions.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy Smith. I live in Rolling Hills. I just have like 5 questions for the chief. Okay, so we were talking about that 30-day data retention, and that's of the license plate, right?
It's in the photo itself.
Okay, so, because Flock is a software company, and so I'm assuming that like all the other software companies that we're interacting with, they're collecting user data, metadata, etc., location data that can maybe on the individual level not be so valuable, but on the aggregate level, maybe not even that we see at all, but that Flock could see, they can make a lot of money making that data anonymous and selling it on the exchange. Do you know anything about that? Have they told you anything about that from the Flock side of things?
About whether they do that? Or
Yeah, if they're selling the user data at all.
In the contract, it states that they are not allowed to sell the data.
They're not allowed to sell. But, like, just the license plate data, or they can anonymize it?
Photo itself. So what
Okay.
they use is, I think you're talking about another portion of the contract that talks about them having the ability to anonymize the data.
Sure, yeah.
And then use it to train their own software.
Well, they can use it to group a lot of those data pieces together and strategically sell them. Plenty of companies buy and sell each other's data. So I'm assuming Flock does this in some way, but it might just be a couple steps removed from just the actual in town. So
If they're selling it, it would be in violation of the agreement.
Right, I'm not saying it's like they're selling my license plate, but like maybe just like the entire, pattern of movements of the state of Wyoming can get condensed and sold, or maybe the whole Front Range, because, it's really attractive to some advertisers. I'm just guessing. Okay, we'll just move on from that. Just another tech question, sorry. Okay. I don't know a ton about encryption, but I keep hearing about how end-to-end the encryption of all this data kind of lies within the Flock system. Is that correct?
It is,
As far as you know? Okay. So basically, it's kind of, a lot of this is out of like the Glen Rock PD's hands, like once the information is collected by Flock. There's that period of 30 days, and in that period of 30 days, or 7 if it gets reduced, technically they can do whatever they want with the data, right? Because I haven't seen the terms of the contract with the PD. So
I have the contract in front of me. I know it's out there, but I have read it. So technically, there's a number of things that they, in that contract agreement, they're not going to.
Right, because I don't think they're going to try and sell that I went to grocery store or anything like that, like the one time. But the aggregate tends to have a lot of value.
If you're implying that they're lying to me,
oh, no, it would be like, yeah. Well, okay, so do you know how long Flock has been around?
Do I? I don't know.
Okay, so apparently they were founded in 2017. And how long I'm so sorry, how long
2024. Our cameras went up in 2024.
Okay, how long have you been with the police department?
2010.
Okay, wow, so longer than Flock has been around. That's kind of cool. So, that's neat. Okay. Are there any other companies that you know of that do what Flock does? Like, does Flock have any competitors?
Axon. One that also sells LPR systems, yes.
Okay.
If Flock scares you, Axon will terrify.
I've never heard of them. Okay.
Guys, let her speak.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I appreciate it. I just never knew if they had any competitors or not. And lately, I feel like all I've been hearing about is them. And so good to know that there are others out there. So just really quickly, just to kind of go back to it. For those 30 days that Flock has the aggregated user data of the comings and goings of the people of this town, they could technically do whatever they want with it, even though it's more like not asking for permission, but asking for forgiveness later on. Is that correct?
can't answer that question.
Okay.
You're assuming that they're lying to me.
No, it's not even lying. It's just, I mean,
They certainly haven't told me that they're doing that.
okay.
Another way the data is in their control, correct?
No, they own the data.
It is inside of a storage system.
Okay.
It's theirs, yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you.
Just because they're going to spin off of that.
All right. Hi, my name's James Kane. I live here in Glen Rock. My main issue with the flock cameras is not necessarily like you guys being able to find, a kidnapper or something like that along those lines. I think that's a good thing that can be used. There's the problem with misuse. Like I said, pointed out in your presentation, that you were the only one that does the investigations and audits and things like that. And the primary problem with this is that all of this stuff, it's not like a closed camera system. I'd be happier with a closed camera system that you guys just had here at the police station. But then it goes out all over the web, all right? Now, we can talk about securities and this and that, and nobody will understand in this room and all this stuff for hours. But the problem is, things like FBI databases, Pentagon databases, all this stuff has been breached by hackers throughout the world. There's already the reason why these things have been around for such a time, and they're only now gaining traction and people coming against them is because there has been issues, right? We can't change the law until there's an issue with the law, right? Or things that are going on in the public. So basically, is there any way that we can make this system, a Glen Rock system, not a flock system that goes around the world for whoever to see, because there's already thing with breaches of stuff where, I don't know, it was Poland that started to tell with VPNs and how they bounce it around. Because if you guys could track where it was leaked to, all of the scammers and everybody in the world would already be caught. You know what I mean? Because there's too many things for it to go around. That's my point. I just wanted to know, instead of the flock cameras, we have maybe our own system or something like that that's not broadcast around the world to parts unknown, data brokers we don't know. Once it's out there, we don't have access to it, but somebody does. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shaylin Kovach. I grew up here in Glen Rock, and I have a whole list of questions, and I will save my opposition for the City Council meeting on the 14th. I also second the motion to not renew the contract for many reasons that have been stated. So I will limit my questions, starting with this one. The order from page Glen Rock 00020 set initial term of 24 months and a renewal term of 24 months, not 1 year. The agreement says that the term begins with the cameras are installed and validated, and the log shows the system live by mid-October 2024. What is the exact date this contract auto-renews? What is the exact deadline for the town's 30 days written notice of non-renewal, and will we have a chance to speak on it, is my first question.
The renewal date is October 14th. The 30-day window would be September 14th.
Okay. And then the next question. Chief Felton? On December 8th, 2025, you ran 2 searches logged to a real hit-and-run case for a white Ram pickup truck. 2 hours later, you ran roughly 40 more searches logged only as tests. No case number, 6 of them filtering for Ram, using the same time window and then extending it for 4 days further back. What are those 40 searches actually looking for, considering their tests? And why the test? And maybe explain what test means, because there is an awful lot of tests in the 375 different logs that were audited since the start of this.
Yeah.
for now.
All right. We'll try and get all those questions. So December 2025?
Yeah, it was December 8th, 2025.
I apologize. That's a year ago. I can't remember exactly what that was. I can tell you that when something like test is entered in there, it's either for training or we're training a new person on the system or some sort of an update. Can I answer her question first? And
Go ahead.
You're welcome afterwards to ask hers. Okay. So either training of a new person or some sort of a new feature is added to the system. So we go in and then we have to retrain on that system for the new features.
So that is 40 searches within hours of that?
Without having
First-
being able to go back and look at the log, I apologize. I couldn't tell you exactly what it was or whether it was a feature or a training.
Okay.
It could have been a group training with more than one individual who then ran a couple of searches.
Okay, and then back to my first question. Will the community have a chance to speak on it, and will the city council actually take the community's opinion into consideration?
We will take items from the floor, and yes, in a legal council meeting where we can make a vote, we will discuss that.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Brett Camilleri. I live here in Glen Rock. I'm going to be pretty quick and just be kind of matter of fact. So since 2024, I guess we've had these cameras for 2 years now. Since those cameras went up, how many times have they actually actively led to some sort of arrest or some sort of, I guess, result would be the word I'm looking for in an active investigation that's been used to, like, close a case or something like that?
I would estimate that it would be about 10 to 12 times that we've used just that system that would have done that.
And are you able to speak on, like, what kinds of cases those were? Is that something you're allowed to talk about, or?
I mean, individually I can't talk about, but a lot of them are usually missing people, welfare checks, that kind of thing.
Okay. I bring it up just because there's kind of a heavy emphasis on, like, the Amber Alert things and stuff that you guys brought up earlier, and for 2 years it just, in a town of 2,400 people, how many people can possibly go missing? And I guess the answer is about 5 a year or 6 a year. No, go ahead.
So the actual idea and the reason for the open network versus the closed network, if that makes sense with the sharing of other cameras and such, is because it's not just our Amber Alerts that we'd be looking for, right?
Oh, yeah, I understand.
Amber Alerts would be those entered by other agencies,
Right.
From anywhere.
And I totally get that, I understand. But the question kind of stands, like, of those 10 to 12 cases, how many of those were, like, interstate or inter-county or larger than the town?
That's fair. None.
Just thank you. Just that seems like, and remind me, I'm sorry, I'm not 100% clear. I've seen different figures. What was the total cost to the town of Glen Rock, like to us, for those cameras to this point?
So for the first year of the contract, I believe it was roughly $19,000. It might have been just over that. That included installation costs. The second year of that contract was $15,000. It's $3,000 per camera per year.
Okay.
Multiply that by the 5 cameras that we use. 15 for the year. The first one did include more just because of the installation costs.
Right. Okay. And again, I want to be clear, but just by saying, like, my main concern isn't, how much of this is coming out of my paycheck, but more so the privacy aspect. It just doesn't seem like, 10 or 12 people over 2 years. Not that we should not look for people. I don't want that to get conflated or twisted there, but it just doesn't seem like the amount of what I would consider invasion of privacy to kind of be congruent with those results. So that was kind of all the questions I had. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To add to her question, though, how many officers, Jack Street, I'm a resident of Glen Rock here, in the last year, how many new cops have you had?
In the last year,
Yeah.
I would estimate 3 to 4.
Which ones?
Which new officers
Yeah.
hired in last year? 2 of them are in the academy right now.
Oh, they're still in the
One
academy.
of them's on the street.
Okay. Okay, so I was just wondering, when you say training in the last year, how many officers are you training for the 40 searches that she said
The
on?
officer who's here has to train, and then, like I said, software updates occur, changes are made in the system,
Huh.
and new things have to be looked at.
All right. So here's some data for you for national average. Tracked ex-girlfriends and her teenage daughter 600 times. This is like he started. Tracks ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend 200 times plus. Tracked estranged wives multiple. Tracked ex-girlfriend and her parents 100 times. Tracked ex-girlfriends multiple. Tracked a woman who met with working security on TV set, then pulled her over multiple. So that has a real concern to me with all the women around here as how these are getting abused. I got here some more for you. My question is, the department on the policy requires every flock search to have a relevant case number and a legitimate law enforcement justification, right? And that goes for the law as well in Wyoming?
It goes for the law as well.
As the law set in Wyoming on flock cameras, where does the law stand?
I'm not aware of the law.
Oh, they don't have any laws for flock safety?
No, sir, not that I'm aware of.
Just policy and procedures by the town of Glen Rock that you must follow. Okay, so the auto logs show that requirements was ignored on 370 out of 375 searches in the last 2 years. What did they put instead on the auto logs?
So when a test or a training is occurring, obviously there's not a case number associated with that.
Okay.
I would kind of fall into that. Under the policy, that would be regarding any searches that occur that are just actual searches.
Yeah, but if you was doing a policy of your own policy, right, of being a case number and justification, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 370 out of 375 searches didn't have that.
So I think that you're referring to the logs that were public information requests turned over that. So in those logs, the case numbers were actually removed,
Okay.
as well as the license plates.
Here's
My
a-
understanding is that a couple of those were missed. That was a redaction error.
Huh. Always in errors. God, I hate errors. All right, so on November 27th of 2025, there was a search with the filter out of all Wyoming plates in Glen Rock. So, and what you wanted to do is you filtered out everybody in town of Wyoming and went out and tracked every other license plate with 6,000 some odd networks of 49 other states that didn't have Wyoming plates that were in town for Thanksgiving. Okay? That's including Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, and Mexico. And you did that on all our family members for Thanksgiving, singled them out. You took a filter on there, and you said, filter out all Wyoming plates, right?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's on the records that you guys
All the
supplied.
records on in front of me.
Okay?
I don't know what you're trying
November 27th at 25.
The question?
I think you're talking November 16th.
November 27th. It was Thanksgiving Day.
No, I have pretty much what you're saying.
Okay, maybe it was. It was in that time. All right. So when you come to one that says gambling or trespass, and then it says test afterwards, which one are you doing? Are you looking for gambling or
It
testing
would be a test.
of gambling?
There's nothing to do with gambling.
So it had an area of gambling or trespass in there?
There was just information that was put in there for the test.
Huh. Okay. Why is only 5 out of 390 searches come to one case number? You only have one case number in 390 searches in 2 years.
As I told you earlier, those numbers were taken out. The case numbers, as well as the license plates, were supposed to be taken out when that was released. There was a mistake in that process.
Always those mistakes. When the only accountability tool the town promised us is filled with the word test, the system is not accountable. It is operating with the basic of, we don't know. I call for action. We're not asking for another promise to do better, and we're asking the council to act. Demand a full independent review of every test search, require real consequences for the documented policy violations, release the remaining emails in the complete order form without further delay, and most importantly, put the future of these cameras on the ballot where it belongs, to the people of Glen Rock to vote on it, not the town council. The logs are public, the failures are documented. The only question left is whether this council will finally hold the system accountable to the community it is supposed to be served. And the last one is, Mr. Romel, you stated that you guys, when you did these, you permitted them outside your jurisdiction by getting a permit from the YDOT. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. That was, and you did that by YDOT, right? It wasn't extending the city limits like he quoted in Cowboy Daily? Because they said it got extended.
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay, do you know the answer to that?
No, I do not.
Okay, because on Cowboy Daily you said that you extended the city limits. That's not
City
true.
limits was extended to the south up to Deer Creek Road, yes. I didn't say it was extended any other direction, Jack.
Huh. Well, I can't even find any records of that.
It wasn't done by this council. It was done by probably 12 years or longer before. It was done by...
But that's not even your jurisdiction.
Someone back at that time when that all was in...
So why isn't the sheriff department or the highway patrol running these and not you? Because it's not even your jurisdiction where you hold all the data? Why is that?
Jurisdiction doesn't matter with these because these are not things that are being legally, they're not, the infractions aren't occurring outside of the jurisdiction.
Huh? Who?
There's no infractions being recorded. And the only reason the jurisdiction would come into play is if, say, something were to be actionable on those.
But infractions, what do you mean by infractions?
Infractions means breaking the law.
So any law you can just decide to run these by without case numbers then? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure.
I'm not either. So, all right, I run 100 rentals between Glen Rock and Casper. So any given day, I could run 2 to 3 times to Glen Rock. That means I pass these 6 times a day. Times that by 5, that's 30 a week. Times that by 52, you're looking for an astronomical amount. Say 3,000 times. I go to 15 rental tenants in Glen Rock and Casper, especially if I have to replace a water heater and go up to Casper. We all commute. My problem is we run apart these 4 times a day. In 2 years, we've got a total of 2,000 times that we ran across those power plays. So we could all be infractions by your means. I mean, what? I mean, seriously, we have a digital footprint that's ginormous in here. And you know we are ranked number 1 on the internet for the safest town? Good job, by the way. It's safest town in Glen Rock is in Wyoming right now. Okay? So I don't understand why we have justification for these systems when it's a foot in the door for what's coming next with drones, with facial recognition. It's a foot in the door for total surveillance. Do we want to be like China? Come on now. That's where it's leading to. Just straight up to it. Might as well just throw it all away. You know, my grandfathers died in this country to save our freedoms, our rights, our liberties, and put people like you guys that we can vote in charge and trustworthy to do the right thing. And man, I ain't giving up my rights that my family died for, man. I mean, we all have family members that have fought for this country and our freedoms, and it's a foot in our door to take our freedoms away, especially in a town of 2,400 people that lives 3 miles off the road. Who's going to detour of a criminal to come through our town to buy gas in the middle of the night? They're going to stick to I-25. Well, I mean, seriously, we're 72% below average for a crime rate. It doesn't make sense.
Are you asking me a question?
No, I'm just talking personal to you, but I'm done. Thank you. That was good.
I had one other question, or perhaps a couple of quick questions. So I've been writing software since like the 90s, and oftentimes when I'm doing stuff for like hospitals or lawyers or, like personal information bank accounts, like we create sandbox environments. So that way we're not exposing personal information and we can test all kinds of different things, train, so on and so forth. Why wasn't testing done through something like that as opposed to real citizens' information?
So, that's a great question for Flock. Because I agree with you on that. But they just haven't created that environment yet.
Thank you.
I reached out to them, they won't answer.
Hi, my name is Tate Wise. I have 4 questions down. First, are there any portions of the contract the town has with Flock that any of you council members would like to see changed in any way if we were to, renew it, or if you could just go back in time and change any stipulations?
I'll be honest, I've never read the contract.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I haven't seen it.
Okay. And, well, I guess I don't know who to direct this next question. I guess it's a follow-up question, but do you know how much flexibility Flock provides when negotiating with the municipality in terms of the details of the contract? Is it pretty willing to say, yes, we're willing to make this concession and that concession? It sounds like it might be.
My understanding, my understanding is that yes, they will make alterations to the contract.
Okay, thank you. Regarding intermunicipal Flock searches, could you tell us about how Glenrock works with other municipalities and what sort of data is shared? To be more particular, would you speak to how or if information at all is shared using information directly from Flock between municipalities? I guess what I'm asking is, when working with other municipalities, is it something through Flock where you're able to share footage or give direct access to another municipality for a certain period of time? Or does another municipality just call the police department and say, hey, we're wondering if this license plate has come through town?
So if somebody wanted information like that, yes, they would have to call.
Okay.
If they're a subscriber of the Flock system. If
Yes.
they're a subscriber of the Flock system,
Mhm.
then they can search from their end.
Okay.
Depending on who they were and whether we would allow them for something like that. But for something like that, that would require a license plate.
Okay. So if we were to have a 30-day cutoff, but another municipality were to connect to us using what you just mentioned, and they didn't have a 30-day cutoff, would the data from our town be deleted from their database after 30 days, or would they retain it?
You mean if they searched it and they retained that, they did a search and got that data from our system?
Yes.
My understanding would be yes, it would be.
Okay.
Unless they were able to download that as evidence.
Okay, thank you. And would you be willing to be more particular when running test searches, for example, by naming the officer being trained and the exact skill being taught, so that there aren't just things saying test, but more particular things?
No, we definitely look into those changes.
Okay, thank you. And do any council members have any thoughts on how to provide a higher degree of oversight, perhaps from outside the police department? I mean, no shade at all, I trust you, right? But just institutionally, Any thoughts?
Sir, I appreciate hearing the thoughts of the citizens of our community,
Mhm.
and I just want to hear what you have to say and what you feel about this, and to think about it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. All right, is there anything else? We're good.
I think we're going to take all the information we got tonight and evaluate.
Okay, thank you very much.
We're going to look at this, so.
All right, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
We can't make any decisions on this tonight. This is special counsel.
No, this is...
It would have to go into an executive session and during a regular council meeting, so it's an official.
Yeah.
I just want to make one comment. First and foremost, I think that everybody up here tries to do their very level best by way of the town. And to the extent that we have this many people showing up tonight for this kind of system issue, I mean, this is powerful. This is what democracy is. This is what government should look like. So it's real good that everybody's here to voice your concerns. And to the extent that there's information being misappropriated or, mismanaged, I haven't been a part of any of the discussions related to Flock. But now that I am, I can assure everybody that I've looked at the system and what Chief Elson's been doing, that the fact that we're here, we're being transparent and open and trying to educate everybody in the community, I'm not in a position to know, how this is beneficial or how it's helpful or what have you. He'd be in the best position to do that. But to the extent these folks up here trying to withhold information or invoke more...
are you legal counsel for the town?
Yes. Invoke more government versus less freedom, that's certainly not their intention. And so if it's the masses here deciding that this is not something the town or those folks want to do, I mean, it's real powerful for everybody up here to hear from you. So I appreciate everybody's attendance tonight. I appreciate, being educated on this topic. It's not something that comes up in my day-to-day work, and unless it's brought to my attention to review these things, I wouldn't be doing it. Otherwise, I'd be full-time, every single day, legal counsel, reviewing every single document that these folks do. And so to the extent that, that everybody up here didn't review the contract or that they didn't have a good understanding of what the exact terms are, it's certainly not from that standpoint, in my opinion. It's certainly that you guys coming out and speaking about your objections, your questions, your issues with this, it's just helpful in terms of a governmental standpoint for us to understand what the citizens want to do here. So that's just my 2 cents.
Ma'am,
Thank you.
You're counsel, but we don't know who you are either.
I'm Amy Ireland.
Okay, thank you.
Very nice. Thank you.
I had one more question.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, by the way. Could any of you quickly clarify the constitutionality of this? I mean, I'm sure there's something here about, plain view or something like that. I mean, could you talk about it?
So I don't really want to give you like a constitutional analysis, but just think of it this way, okay? So the last time I went through the Denver airport and I wanted to sign up for Clear or whatever, I walked up to the machine to sign up for that Clear system so you can go through the airport on the faster track, right? I put my fingerprint on there and it knew immediately who my mom was, who my mom's maiden name was. And so that was one of the test questions. I mean, to the extent that we are...
You volunteered that.
I volunteered the fingerprint, true. But at the same time, the fact that I just put my finger on there and they knew who I was by reading my fingerprint, or they could test
that
your
argument's
eyes.
as good as you think, considering the information that's being gathered
It's terrifying.
and used through other situations.
It's terrifying.
By you putting a fingerprint on there, now you throw in the metric of knowing where everybody goes, who's driving that car, by who it's licensed to, their fingerprints, their background, their everything that's put together through a mosaic practice of all of this surveillance. That is the problem we are all trying to hear that are against.
No, and I hear that. I mean, ultimately, to the extent that you have a reasonable expectation of privacy in the public view anymore, it just doesn't necessarily exist. And so now with the implementation of the flock system, I mean, I do a lot of 1983 litigation, so that's civil rights litigation, and to identify criminals or the like, that's one of the tools that officers use. But to the extent that there are invasion of privacy issues, it's been a hotly debated topic across the U.S., right? So, I mean, there is very little expectation of privacy in the public view anymore, but there's also a reason that we choose to live in a place like Wyoming.
Yeah, we choose not to have all of that and live in the big cities where these things happen, to get out of the hustle and bustle, to live a life in town. In a small
Would you
town.
guys if you want to talk, come to the podium. And we're all here on free gratis time, so this is not going to last much longer.
I really appreciate you guys for having this meeting and for you guys being here. Obviously, I know it's a touchy subject, and it's not always fun to be when you know that you're just trying to do what's right, to be questioned. And
Excuse me, ma'am.
oh, sorry, Brandy Sorensen. Okay, so I just have a couple questions. How did Flock come to you? Was it like marketed to you, or how did that come and how did you decide we needed it here?
So, I apologize, that was back in early 2024. I don't remember if I saw it somewhere.
Okay.
At a conference or something like that, or if they actually reached out. I get a lot of phone calls in a day, a lot of emails, those kinds of things. But I don't remember exactly how I came.
Okay, awesome. So the other question that I have is about auditing, and I just want to say I'm very pro law enforcement as well. I just know that there's also humans in law enforcement, and so I'm not meaning any of this personal towards anybody in this room or on our force or anything. But the audit, as far as the audit goes, and I do appreciate the question that he already has, but can you explain more about what you do to audit it to make sure that it's only being used for correct purposes? And I assume that's only you can only audit your officers, not any other people who are maybe in Tennessee that are on the flock system searching in Glen Rock, right?
So, yes, the audit is an internal audit. I'm not sure I understand fully the rest of the question. As far as me auditing another agency, I do not audit another agency.
Yeah, so like you can't tell whether the person from I'll say Tennessee, sorry, no offense to Tennessee, but just somebody else, there's no way to tell whether that is a legit case, he's not just stalking his ex-girlfriend or something.
So,
Can somebody from Tennessee get on your flock system and run search?
Nobody can come through our system, if that makes sense. However, in the idea of the national sharing network, it is possible that other cameras could search across our system. If that makes sense.
Okay, can you explain that a little more? Because it sounds like yours, to me, it was contradictory.
So, Coulter, let me take a stab at that. So say somebody in Tennessee, law enforcement, Jacksboro, Tennessee, wants to search Wyoming license plate 1079. If they search that, they're going to find my truck because that's my truck. If they do that, do you get notified that they found a truck in Glen Rock, Wyoming that they were searching for on Flock? Is that your question, Brent?
Yeah, that's the beginning of it, yeah.
So, no, it would be a note. I mean, unless there was something with that
Right.
system, like it was flagged, then it would notify.
But that's possible for them to do that.
Yeah,
If it was flagged.
Sharon, so that's the idea of the national versus just keeping it internal, is that if I enter somebody as a missing person, right, and somebody's kidnapped from here, we enter them into the system and they would go to another area, then I would be able to search those other cameras and that to flag. Or for that to flag in those other areas, yes, that's phone call.
And how does that differ from, like NCIC or something like that? Putting in that Amber Alert or, all points bulletin, or, how come you can't go, it's just faster this way through using all this technology?
So it's faster in that you're employing the number of cameras that are out there, right, to catch that, instead of just relying on one officer to see that plate. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. And is there a way to turn that off so that nobody else could come into our area to search in Glen Rock? No other state,
So yes, you can opt out of that, but then that removes us from being able to utilize those other ones. And also, I can tell you that I am aware that the company itself is actually putting in they're altering the way that works so that you can alter, my understanding is they have to have, only certain reasons can be searched, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So like we could switch, once that's out, it's not out yet.
Hypothetically.
Once that's out, certainly it's, as I said, going to be given a lot of
different.
And it sounds like a good thing. But anyway, long story short, we can actually select what things they could search across our system. So homicide, kidnapping, those kinds of things.
Okay, like the case, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, and then when you said on that toggle, the federal was off, can you explain that a little bit more?
So that would mean that if a federal agency wanted to share, the network sharing like we just talked about, that is actually something that one agency has to agree to with another agency to allow the reciprocity of that national search, if you will, or regional search. So what that toggle does, it doesn't allow any federal agencies to actually even reach out and ask to share.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's interesting that it's okay from other states but not federally, and I know that's a whole other issue. Last question is, and I guess more just a thought with the testing. I appreciate the council's pointing out, that our data is everywhere. And again, no offense to anybody, but when it's in the hands of the government, that's the reason that the United States has the Constitution and the amendments and everything like that. And I know that you did talk about some constitutionality, but there was a recent Supreme Court case, federal Supreme Court case about Chatry versus some state, I don't remember. And it was it said that the data to get like a phone dump area to see what all phones, that still requires a search warrant. And even though right now it hasn't gone, the right case, we all know how case law, like you gotta have the right case and just the right facts and da-da-da, and eventually but anyways, it hasn't been ruled Supreme Court. But why not just in your policy require maybe a search warrant or something to do more looking, not just, so that we know as citizens and we have a little more trust. Because as a citizen, and in Wyoming, even when you ask for public records, the keeper of the records in my experience, the keeper of the records can say, actually, it's not for the public's best interest to see that. And that is really hard to and it's like, trust me, bro. And I'm like, sorry, like, no offense, but like, that's what England said. So I'm not trying to be like hyperbolic, but it's true, and it's just really hard to, again, no offense to anybody, but that's the way people get so nervous about this, and I appreciate your time.
My name is Jackie Harper. I live in Rolling Hills. My question is, how often do you share the flock information with Casper Police Department when you guys are working together for, say, a car going through Wyoming? Does Casper have flock cameras? Oh, but they're bigger than us, right? Okay. Okay. So you can't share the information about Glen Rock with our local police departments like Douglas PD, Casper PD, Gillette PD. So you can't share any of that locally with any of our police departments.
Not unless they have a system where if they call and make that request.
So the closest city in Wyoming to us that also has flock cameras is Cheyenne. So do you guys share the information back and forth with Cheyenne? Do you guys work a lot with Cheyenne since they're so close to us?
So, I'm not sure what you mean by share the information back and forth.
So if Cheyenne has flock cameras, and we're the closest place to Cheyenne that has flock cameras, what is the point if there's crime that's done here and there's crime that's done in Casper, Douglas, all the places that are close around us? They're all bigger than us, but we have flock cameras here, but they don't have them going into Casper. So how beneficial is an Amber Alert or anything once they leave to the next city closest to us?
How beneficial would it be for me to put in an Amber Alert? Or
right, because they're not going to know because it's not on flock. So how can they know that it's driving through their city?
So yes, certainly they would have to drive past one of those cameras for the alert to go on. However, Amber Alerts are also put out through NCIC, which means every officer is made aware of them.
Okay, so every officer. So pretty much my question is, why do we have the flock cameras? Casper doesn't have them. Douglas doesn't have them. We're smaller than both of them. Maybe not Douglas, but why do we have so many and the cities that are closest to us don't have them?
So that would be a question to ask them. I can tell you that when we went into this, those cities were all looking at the system as well. Whether they went with another system or just opted out of it completely, I can't really speak to that. That is on them.
So they obviously didn't get them for some reason or another.
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
So the original intention was to try and partner and get those cameras placed in those other places as well, so they would be more beneficial in that sense, yes.
Okay, so what is the benefit, since you said it would be more beneficial if they had them, what is the exact benefit for us having them here in Glen Rock?
So, pull back up the cases that we talked about earlier. So what it does in those cases was help us solve those cases faster.
And those cases are from what year?
A number of years. I've been here since 2010, and I specifically only use cases that I personally worked with.
Okay.
Since 2010.
So, but recent cases it didn't help with, right?
So it did. I listed those as well. So
okay.
Since we got the system, like I told, I apologize, whoever asked earlier, we've used the system where the system was utilized and was specifically helpful in those cases. I would say about a month.
Okay. But it's not useful in the other cities then, I guess, that are close. My whole thing is, why do we have them? And why would you make that decision for us, obviously?
Is there a certain size that's required before we put a safety feature in place?
No, not at all. Okay. But the point is, what makes you decide for us, a smaller town, when the PD of Casper, which is a much larger town, decides that it wasn't a good idea for whatever reason he came up with? Why does it make you be like, oh, yep, I'm going to get them, even though no one else around me has them, except for Cheyenne? And then you get to Denver, and we don't even talk about them.
So, the decision to go with them wasn't necessarily made specific to anyone else going with them as well.
But it says that the main person for the flock camera, it tells you what agency owns it, and it's Glen Rock PD. So that's you, right?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, what made you decide to get them, since you're the owner of it?
The potential use for them is self-harm.
Okay, so but there's also a potential use, just like she was talking about the people in Tennessee. It's homicide, kidnapping, Amber Alert. Well, my ex-boyfriend decided that he was a cop, and he put an Amber Alert out on me. They found me here. Next thing you know, I have a very dangerous man showing up at my doorstep because there was an Amber Alert on me. So how is that helpful?
Are we speaking hypothetical right now?
Well, it's hypothetical that it's going to help you solve crimes, too, right? Because it's a potential. You just said it was a potential.
It has done it.
And it has potential to do that. But it also has potential for my ex-husband to find me, who abused me, and show up at my door because he's a cop. And I was listed as an Amber Alert today.
For abuse, yes, it's there.
Okay. Okay. That's my question, and that's it.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mariah Miller. We live here in Glen Rock. I just wrote these down throughout this meeting. It's mostly just questions for clarity. So for auditing, you said that you conduct internal audits. Is there any third party or any objective party that audits outside of that, or is it just you?
So, the short answer is no.
Okay, so my cause for concern for that would be because there have already been I don't want to say so many, but multiple charges for police officers, as has been stated already, abusing the system. One of them was a police chief, Michael Steffman in Georgia, was criminally charged for using Flock to stalk his ex-girlfriend. So what accountability is there for you, because you conduct the audits, who's making sure that it's not getting corrupted or incorrectly used, essentially? Or are we just trusting that, not personal to you, but just trusting that on your good merit that it's being used appropriately?
All right. So certainly that's a good point. It's been brought up. It's something that we're going to have to look into. Not at all opposed to figure out what the best way is.
And it's not personal too, just because it could be any police chief in the future. Okay. And then my next question, sorry, I hate public speaking. For other on the searches that you were showing, would that fall under test? That was the number one, or what falls under that category?
So it would be other things. I apologize, I don't know exactly looking at it, but other would be a category.
Testing, okay. Because I just noticed that was number one. And then, is there any policy in town for downloading our data? I know that the retention is 30 days. You had noted that other towns, like if there's a request for evidence or if it's being used for evidence, they can download it. Is that the actual policy? Like, you can only download it if it's for evidence, or can you guys download that and retain it as long as?
So, my understanding is that if those other agencies wanted to download it, they would have to actually request that. As far as us downloading it, for, say, it was used for an investigation or an investigation, it would become a part of that case.
So is that the requirement, though? You cannot download it unless it is for an investigation, or is there any specific policy around that?
You mean internally?
Yes.
Yeah, no, you wouldn't download it for any of the reasons that needed to be a part of the case.
Okay. And then I think just kind of a question for everyone. Can you all kind of understand the concern that's coming from the community around this? Just because even for the transparency portal, I don't think that was something that was brought up as a resource for us in the town hall or the last city council meeting. And I just think it's just suspicious, not suspicious, but kind of, that it came up in July after the Cowboy State Daily article came out making most of us aware of these cameras. When, from what you're saying, most of it's automated, it probably just took some configuration to get that up and running. So why did it take almost 2 years for the transparency portal to be available?
The transparency portal wasn't an option that was offered by the company until, like I said, to my knowledge, July. I've been working on it since July to actually go through it and stuff.
Oh, that was when they gave it as an option.
That was when I was aware of it as an option.
Okay.
Anyway, it wasn't an option when we first got the system. I'm not aware of it being an option prior to July.
Okay.
So when it was in there, going in and actually trying to look through that, what it looked like, setting it up, how that works, that started then. And I can tell you that it's not like I'm 24/7. Was just specifically trying to do that.
Right.
The things that go on. So it did take time to get it up and running. And I agree with you, though, that the timing was not great.
Okay, that was all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else has any questions? Otherwise, we're going to probably close this meeting before long. Go ahead, if you got a question.
Yes, my question, I'm Dave Way, I live here in Glen Rock. My question is, on the recent ruling of Chattery versus U.S., August 13th, ruled 6-3, that it is unconstitutional to do a search without a search warrant. Is the department of the town have any plans or intentions of putting something in place that a warrant has to be used to do a search?
So, not intentions on the warrant. We're continuing to put in the safeguards. The problem with the warrant is that it kind of defeats the purpose of the time that you save by being able to do that. I certainly understand that. Certainly, also watching those court rulings and things like that. If something were to rule differently, then absolutely that would fall into play there.
In response to your response, would you be willing to put, if it's an Amber Alert, something, I don't mean to downplay anything, but something more time sensitive, that we could agree to disagree that something of that would be substantial enough to put and waive the warrant, that it is a child missing or something of that nature. But if it's somebody that broke into a home, then the crime's already committed, the threat's gone, where you could take the time to get a warrant properly. And the reason I ask this is, you had mentioned, well, one gentleman mentioned 375 searches, 370 uses test. You've twice now mentioned that 10 to 12 times, due off recollection in the last year, that system is utilized to help solve a crime. So therefore, we have a discrepancy of a minimum of 5, if not 7, times that test was used in breaching the protocols and the asterisks that you pointed out to get the search results.
So I think that is not correct. What Mr. Street said was that there was 370 searches, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Street. What was it he said? 375 searches, 370 of them
Had case numbers or license plates. Case numbers or license plates.
I wasn't referring to case numbers. The direct question or statement was 370 were listed as test.
I don't think that's correct.
Okay.
5 had case numbers.
What's that?
Only 5 had case numbers. They were tied to a case number because only one single case number was not redacted.
Governmental defiance or something.
And I apologize, I don't have the date that was posted, but I do have a screenshot of response from the town earlier that you yourself only have access to the cameras. But earlier in this meeting, you stated that the tests were performed to instruct and teach oncoming officers. Why was a statement publicly made on Facebook that you yourself have sole access and granted access to the platform if in fact we're using it to teach other officers who should then not have access?
I'm not familiar with what statement you're talking about. I can tell you that as was stated in there, all sworn officers and individuals who undergo that background check to become a member of our department have access.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another quick question for you. Sorry, it's a technical question, but I want to make it non-technical. There are a lot of ways to hack a computer. I've reverse engineered malware and all kinds of different stuff. So I could paint a scenario such as I looked at the data that was published, and some of those queries seem to indicate they are coming from mobile devices. And I'm not going to really unpack the security stuff unless you wish me to, but in essence, an officer using earbuds with Bluetooth, listening to something on his phone on an authenticated mobile device into this network could have that compromised. You can attack Bluetooth as an example of one that's not patched as well as other types of technology. So it terrifies me, the idea of hostile actors abusing these things. And one of the slides said never hacked, a more accurate statement would be we're not aware of a security incident. And so are there any kind of formal, do you know what I'll just say, a penetration test is a test done where you basically bring in hackers to try to break in so as you can learn from how they did it to prevent actual hostile actors from coming in. Have you yet arranged for any kind of pen testing for your systems to secure them as best as possible?
So the system is controlled through Flock.
So it's just on faith from a third party? Like you haven't, because you couldn't you just do it yourself as well? Your officers' phones, your devices here and everything?
Couldn't I do what?
Have a security audit to ensure that you don't have a compromised system and therefore a flock compromised system?
Could I see the security audit?
I'm sorry, let me rephrase my question. Have you made any effort to have a formal computer security evaluation of all your officers' systems?
No.
Do you intend to?
Based on what you're telling me, it sounds like it could be a good idea.
I would highly advise you to. Thank you.
We'll talk later.
I've got one more quick thing. So recently, Flock itself has announced that they will no longer keep data for longer than 7 days unless the department has extended for longer. Because of the shot reverse, the United States, they ruled that anything longer than 7 days would need a warrant. So moving forward, if Flock in this town is continued, would you uphold that? Because I do not consent to searches.
So
longer than 7 days, I do not consent to you holding my stuff. Because the Supreme Court ruled anything longer, being held longer than 7 days, requires a search warrant. I highly suggest that you look into it. I also highly suggest that you look into Flock's response. They actually did that. They said that they are not going to retain the data for longer than 7 days unless the department says that they want it. They did that the day before the ruling, and I do feel like that they probably knew that ruling was coming. You know, big money, big pockets, people talk. And
When was that?
I believe it was like 2 weeks ago. It was fairly recent. It might have been a week ago.
Okay.
I've been very much keeping up on the Flock and Axon and everything. So I would appreciate if you guys do keep the system to go along with Flock's new way and not retain the system or retain the data for more than 7 days. Although I don't think that this is the right way. Maybe a hardwired system, something, because I didn't even know that you guys had a discussion about this 2 years ago, and I feel a little lied to, and I feel like the lack of transparency is there. I don't know where the city council agenda is posted. I also am not on Facebook all the time, although I am more often right now because I want to stay in the know, because I feel like I have a voice and I should be using it just like everyone else in this room. But people who are not on the internet should have a place here in Glen Rock, whether it be at the town hall, the grocery store, the library, or all of the above, with, hey, this is going to be on the agenda. I mean, I'm not on city council, so I shouldn't have to come to all of them if I'm not.
All of our meetings are posted and put out on our town website.
Does it say agenda?
Yes.
The agendas are posted on Thursday before Monday.
And why can't people speak on mine? Why can't they?
Yeah, that's a different issue, but the agendas are posted. The entire agenda pack is posted on the Thursday before the council meeting on Monday. The minutes are posted from, I think it goes back 2 years. And then I have meeting minute books upstairs. So.
Well, might I request for people who don't use the internet, because I know there's a lot of older people than me, posting it physically, like the senior center, library, grocery store, here in the town hall, even in the police department section, because that would be more transparent to this community. And
not a bad idea.
I will save the rest of my questions for the 14th. That's all. Thank you.
It's almost 7 o'clock, so let's hurry up. We're going to close this meeting at 7.
I don't have a question. I just have a real quick comment I want to make. It has to do with the CC cameras and that he brought up. So people don't leave here and feel like they were lied to again. I think we need to be transparent that flock cameras are not the only cameras that we have in Glen Rock.
Oh, very true.
Okay?
Absolutely.
all I have to say.
You have law enforcement that have onboard cameras that take a picture of your license plate and your face and do facial recognition and run you through NCIC whether you know it or not.
And we also have cameras at South Rick and at
Mhm.
Park.
Mhm.
And not okay with that either.
And that keeps from the damage and the people defacing our property and tearing it up.
I mean, there's always going to be an argument for them. And
Yes.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Wise.
Then you have a ring camera and anybody walks up to your door that you're recording.
Pardon me, I've got the floor. Hi, Cynthia Wise. I'm a resident of Glen Rock, and I have a real.
Shut up, please.
Excuse me.
Well, I will be rude. She's standing here. You want to talk? Walk up to the deal, Jack.
I have been waiting. I have been waiting.
Jerry,
Excuse
and
me.
go to the deal.
Sir,
She's
excuse-
talking.
Please. Okay. I have a problem with the name flock. I think that we're the flock. I mean, they're treating us like livestock, treating us like sheep, and they're not even hiding it. You know, I'm called back to a quote from Thomas More in England, and he said, some of his writings, it said, you know, when they started fencing the property lines to the peasants, you know, they took away their gardens, and they had no livelihood. And he said, you're taking away their livelihood and treating them like criminals, and then you lock them up because they steal. I mean, I think that back to the point that Tim Kaine made, these are rights that we have because we are born human beings, and we need to stand up for our rights. You know, we have God-given rights. I understand from a perspective of policing that your training and everything makes that, you know, you take it seriously, and it is wonderful that you take it seriously. But I have heard that the contract that Flock has, it says that they own the data in perpetuity, whatever, is that the word? Forever. They're forever. It's in private hands. We can't trust who's going to be in next. Our Constitution outlives what do they call it? The presidency. It outlives the administration. And we can't afford to erode those rights. It outlives us, and it keeps our country safe. And if we cannot stand up for that in our town and make a push back against AI and everything else, just because the government has it, we have it, then I think that we're inviting a slippery slope for erosion of more of our rights as human beings. Okay. So please, will somebody please read and understand what the contract with Flock says?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to call this meeting closed at this time, and you can come on the 14th. We've been in for an hour and a half. We're giving our time, Jerry.
But you can interrupt, but I can't, huh? Is that it?
I told you we were closing at 7. You want to speak, come on the 14th. Please come on the 14th.
One first thing, I don't trust any of you. That's the bad news. The good news is, I just pay taxes here, I can't vote for you. But that being said, you violated the public trust, and I think the best way to do that is to have the police chief an elected position, not under the whims of, let's see, mayor / code enforcement / DCI informant, or whatever you do with your snooping around all the time. Okay, so what would it take to have the police chief elected?
It's not an elected position. It's appointed by the mayor at the beginning of their 4-year term.
And you can't change that.
I think that's across the United States.
That's statute in the state.